seeing these sectors, trading within Africa is becoming more expensive than actually exporting to Europe or to other countries. So I really want to know what to ensure that this cost as much as possible. And then another question is the growing youth and the population are being interested in the production and value addition itself.
Thank you very much. Yes, that's a very important part, operationalization of the FCTA. Yes.
Okay, since we are running out of time, I'll just dive in, straight to my question. So I'm glad that Dr. Jida Okeke mentioned about Africans not owning our own statistical information. Now, my concern is that many widely used databases on Africa are produced or at least heavily supported by international organizations. Now, I'm not denying that African governments also produced statistic information through their national statistical officers. However, we see that in many countries, they directly or indirectly end up relying on external fundings and then technical assistance or international surveys. We have also seen concerns across parts of the continent about sensitive data being shared or accessed by international companies. So how are we how are Africans supposed to, own that digital sovereignty while we are ending up, continuously relying on international institutions for to make our decisions? It's not just decisions regarding Africans that are being held or made in our absence, but it's that the statistics that we use to make our own policies and decisions are also, again, made by internationals in our absence. So how are we supposed to own our, digital sovereignty?
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's an important question. Digital sovereignty, yes. Yes, let's have one there and then move to the front desk. I think we'll have the second table, then the last table will be the front. Please note down, if you've not had a chance, please note down. Isabel will come around and collect all your comments. We do not want to miss a moment. Yes, next.
Thank you. My name is Mau Nombuso. I'm from South Africa. And I note with concern that while we need to integrate and trade with one another, and our survival as a continent depends on having good relations, the xenophobia, or I'd rather say Afrophobia, which is exceptionally targeting African people. And I feel if it were due to unemployment, it would also target everyone of foreign descent. So I think we need to drill down on such issues and also look at the political drivers of it, and also look at the systemic drivers of this. And because it seeks to undermine the progress that the continent has made, it is an artificial barrier or an artificial tariff that will undermine growth of the continent as well as the growth of trade in South Africa, because seemingly after 1994, there has been no education of what the continent has done for that country. There has not been miseducation of South Africans. We need to erase the education that we might have had, which might have informed us that we are exceptional, maybe superior to the continent. There are serious drivers. Yes, I acknowledge unemployment, it's risen, but there are also other serious drivers of the current situation that is happening in my country. And I think even at policy level, those issues need to be rooted and exposed and addressed. Thank you.
Very strong point. Thank you so much. Education, and not only education in South Africa, actually education across Africa. And I think we had a thematic for education a couple of years ago at the AU, and this is something we need to look into. Yes, please. Next, and then we'll have a final one.
I speak French. My question, I speak, yes.
So, okay. Continuez, s'il vous plaît.
Ok. Donc, ils vont comprendre. Ok, ma première question s'adresse à M. Dr. JTK Okeke. Quels sont les mécanismes, les systèmes onusiens peuvent-ils réellement réformer à court terme pour donner plus de poids à l'Afrique, ou devons-nous prioriser la construction d'alternatives parallèles. Ma deuxième question concerne à Madame Mazima. Comment transformer l'énergie et l'innovation des jeunes femmes africaines en véritable levier de pouvoir dans les négociations sur l'IA, le climat et la gouvernance globale? Merci.
Can we have a volunteer to
Where's-
translate, help translate? I think we didn't
Dr.
have the,
Raj?
yes.
Is Dr. Raj in the room? Sorry? Is Dr. Raj in? Who is able to translate that? Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Vous pouvez juste répéter la question rapidement, s'il vous plaît, dans l'intérêt du temps. S'il vous plaît, monsieur. Répétez la question. Allez.
C'est bon, vous pouvez lire.
Okay, we have two questions. The first one addressed to Dr. Jide. So what are the mechanisms or systems that can be put in place at the UN level to really reinforce or reform on a short-term basis, okay? Prioriser la construction parallèle, c'est-à-dire. Okay, well, I'm not sure to understand what it exactly means, but to prioritize alternative systems for construction in parallel, maybe. That's what is the question. The second one is to Ms. Mazima. So how young women, okay, can transform energy and innovation in a true, I would say, in a true powerhouse in negotiation, in particular in relation to climate and governance, resilience, AI, amongst others, basically, okay? Sorry.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
Yes.
much for your assistance. Let's come to the final table. Let's come to the final table. We may not answer all the questions, but we want to hear all these questions so that we can have them as, points of conversation as the day continues. Yes, please proceed.
A particular school in Scotland, the master's program in oil and gas was dominated by Nigerians. Like 98% of enrollment were all Nigerians. Today, if you look at the oil and gas sector, you would find, even beyond Nigeria, you would actually find that there are capacities that are being exported. So when we talk about critical minerals, when we talk about some of these priority areas, Africa, we really need to increase and boost our capabilities. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Okeke. A warm applause. Yes, over to you, Madam Mazima.
Thank you very much. I think my parting shot really is to say, I think someone mentioned the issue of leadership, and with leadership also comes political will. But I would like to say, as citizens, our voice is powerful. As young women, as the youth, our voice is very powerful. And if we do not have the leaders that we want, but our voice will not be silenced. Tokenism, I think I answered the question around the issue of going beyond tokenism. It is important for youth to speak. It is important that when the youth speak, power asks. When the youth speak, for example, we are saying the leadership or the power should not only say they have spoken, but they also have the duty to listen. And I also want us to move from a point where we only have policies. We have enough policies, I should say. We have beautiful papers that we have that support us as young women, that give us power as young women, but we want to move to implementation. We want to move to accountability. As Africa, we have the resources, and I think this has been stressed, and let's use those resources to ensure that women are empowered, and those that are also in previously disadvantaged geographical areas are also reached, even from the global platform. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your kind attention. I think we'll submit the summary for the minutes so that we don't take any more time for this session, but we really appreciate you. And for the panelists, thank you very much. Let the conversation continue. Good day.
A round of applause for our speakers, please. Can we get a quick photo? As the picture's been taken, colleagues, there's a lot of excitement and interest following this fireside chat, my bad. So please feel free to connect with our speakers bilaterally during the tea breaks. I'm sure they'll be happy to respond to some of your questions. And if you have additional recommendations, our secretariat is at the back. Please feel free to submit your questions, comments, recommendations so that they're reflected in our outcome document. So it's now, thank you very much. It's now my honor to invite Dr. George Mukundi to take us into the next session titled Reimagining the Global Financial Architecture. Dr. George Mukundi, I invite you to the stage to invite our speakers and take over the session.
You can see Ade whispering to me, telling me I only have 30 minutes. Can you imagine? 30 minutes. What am I going to do with 30 minutes? And I have an entire group of very distinguished experts. Ruth, please join us. Rangari, Rai, Hossam, Omalora, and Abubakar. My name is George Mukundi, and I want to invite all colleagues. I was quite happy to see the former Minister of Tourism in Ethiopia. She's just joined us at the special invitation of Jide. So let's first acknowledge the Minister of Tourism in Ethiopia and Jide really for also inviting her. She's one of those people we also need to listen to at some point. And I know, William, wherever you're sitting, and Dr. Raj, you'll make a plan, even if it's just for her to say something. She has some extremely brilliant ideas on how they've transformed this country, including the free movement of persons. You can access Ethiopia any day. And many of you, of course, have been enjoying the beauty of this country. Because I only have 30 minutes, actually it's an hour. So if we go beyond 30 minutes, don't say, why is that guy still sitting out there? This panel is one that then not only takes the fireside chat to the next level, but it's also one where we are now beginning to ask ourselves, let's stop at generalities. We've had the staff policymakers discuss, and they already are working on, and we are also sure that perhaps we don't belong there, but also we belong there. What's the role of civil society and citizens? That's the heart and the crux of these discussions, because this is a citizens forum. Now, many of us usually say we can influence policy. We can ask for accountability. We can also track implementation. So we don't want these guys to tell us that's what we should do. We know. Don't tell us what we know. Tell us how do we do that? And what exactly are you suggesting to ECOSOC? And what are you suggesting to us to do? Not what our governments and ministers will do, because they're also having these same conversations. So this is a citizens forum. What are you going to do when you leave this conference? And without further much ado, I'm quite impressed by the panel because it's quite huge. But I'm wondering why are they sitting here and you're sitting there? So Ruth, why are you here?
Good morning once again, all protocol observed. I am here to share my insights and to get to speak about my understanding and the work that my institution, the Institute of Public Finance, is doing in collaborating with the African Union, with African governments, in advancing the reforms for financing for Africa's development. We have the broader global financing architecture, but we have chosen to specifically support and collaborate with our governments to drive our own development, because we said yesterday that it is us, it is our time, and it's time that we take leadership and power and ownership in this.
On this particular topic, what do you know that we don't?
I know about the reforms that are, I call them African-owned and African-led. The reforms that are led by our institutions. So allow me to just put it into context. When we talk about the global financial architecture, and we mentioned a bit in yesterday, that we are looking at the decision processes from the global level, particularly on how resources flow. When it comes to taxes, when it comes to debt and borrowing, the decisions around that, how do resources flow from whom to whom, why? Who decides who gets what? Now, the architecture was established and has been in place for several years ago, and for many reasons. But progressively over time, we've seen that the African continent and African countries specifically, we have missed out a lot. We've been on the tail end of benefiting from the global financial architecture for many reasons. I will pick some examples. Allow me to just pick 2 examples. Let us look at the special drawing rights by IMF. When they were established, the distribution of the drawing rights was done according to economy, the sizes of the economy, not according to need. Yet African countries, we need those resources to finance our development so that we can catch up with the more developed economies. Efforts towards redirecting or being able to access more of those resources, including the proposition to rechannel these resources, if not directly to countries, then to African institutions like the Africa Development Bank, so that then African countries can work with AFDB to finance our development agenda, are still not moving. Why? Because we need some vote from some people outside. That is not Africa who gets to vote and gets to decide. Those are the things we want to change. Look at the creditors, the people who Africa countries have been borrowing, the people who've been lending the economy. They sit in their spaces through the Paris Club, make decisions. When do we sit as borrower countries and say, these are some of the minimum standards that we want to set for ourselves? Much as